Happy to have you here with me in the locker room today, everybody. I'm Alan Locher. Actress, author, and artist Ami Dolenz is my guest today. She is the daughter of the Monkees legend Micky Dolenz, who forged her own unique path in Hollywood, from her breakthrough on Junior Star Search to roles in General Hospital, Growing Pains, and Saved by the Bell. Ami quickly became a fixture of the 80s and 90s TV and film. She also starred in fan favorite films like Can't Buy Me Love, one of my absolute favorites, She's Out of Control, and the cult horror classics like Pumpkinhead 2 and Witchboard 2. Fans especially remember her iconic genie role in Miracle Beach, a film that earned her lasting admiration and memories, including the famous genie costumes she still treasures. Today, Ami's creativity shines in her artwork. After years of bringing characters to life on screen, she now channels her talent into visual art, creating compelling characters through watercolor, pen, ink, and other mediums. Join us as we dive into her acting journey, her inspirations, and her artistic impressions. It is my pleasure to welcome Ami Dolenz to the locker room. Hi, Ami.
Hey.
Thanks
Hey.
so,
How you
thanks
doing?
so much for being here. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks so much for having me.
You initially wanted to be an illustrator before acting. What led you at an early age to illustrate?
I think cartoons. I used to watch a lot of cartoons back in the 70s when I was growing up, and I just loved the animation world. And my dad was working at Hanna-Barbera too, doing voices, so he would take me and I would be, there meeting all the illustrators and seeing all their characters. So that's when I first kind of got the bug.
Watching it in person is a impressive thing, isn't it?
Oh yes, definitely. It's just amazing how much time and effort, especially back then. They didn't have, all the computer programs they have now.
Yeah, absolutely. I worked at Disney in the late 80s, early 90s during the Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast Renaissance.
Favorite.
And getting to, because I was in PR and I got to watch the animators, do a lot of things, on some press things. And my God, what somebody can put in their hand and do is astounding.
Creating a whole new world.
Well done. Well done. Well done. That was good. You started acting in high school. Do you remember the first play and what it was about performing at that moment that you fell in love with?
I do remember my first play. Actually, it was Oliver. And I played just a very small, orphan, food, please, more food, that one. And then I got to star in Little Abner. So I got to play Daisy May, which was just so much fun. And I just fell in. I loved my acting coach at the time, the acting teacher in school, and so she kind of like said, you're kind of, your family's in the business, try it out. And plus, my grandmother was also, my dad's mother was also an actress. His dad was an actor. So I also grew up in it.
Destiny.
So I always had that bug as well. Destiny. Exactly.
They set the course. High school teachers, my theater teacher truly in high school was a big deal for me. Not that I was good, but she really just, left a impression on me. And I think how lucky we are if we come across somebody like that who encourages you.
And how important teachers are. You really need to give them so much credit for what they do. Really good teachers, are so important.
Well, and theater teachers just, I think, add an element of something to our world.
Look, you always can apply it to life as well, because you build up that ability to really communicate, which people need to do, besides testing.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned you, of course, come from an entertainment family. Your dad, Micky Dolenz, and your mom, Samantha, was presenter on Top of the Pops.
Yep.
what was their reaction when you took them to that lunch at 15 years old and said, I want to become an actress?
Dad wasn't too thrilled. He was not a happy camper, really. He wanted me to not to get in the business. My mom was on the fence. She's like, well, this is what she really wants to do, and I'll like, support her, and Dad did too. But he was really pushing, like, here's a microscope. Why don't you try this out? Or he was trying, here's a camera, maybe. So he was always trying to kind of, push me. And I eventually got my agent through, or even like an interview with an agent through my dad's best friend. I had to kind of like sneak around my dad and ask my dad's best friend at the time, do you know any agents? Because I want to like, get it. He's like, well, your dad, oh, okay. Well, so I kind of like had to sneak around dad a little bit to get
your dad did have, this experience that I'm sure, impressed upon him how difficult it can be, and he probably didn't want you to have to deal with that.
Exactly. He wanted to make sure I also had things to fall back on. Like, he's very into me illustrating. He actually built me a light box from scratch, like built a wooden beautiful light box for me because he was into my illustration that much.
Back then?
Yeah.
I mean, were you showing talent literally back then with your illustrations?
Yeah, I mean, I would draw all the time just for fun, just to, it's relaxing to me as well. It's like yoga, I guess.
Did you draw something specific, a specific character early on?
I used to draw Snoopy constantly. That was, constant. I moved to Acapulco when I was about 10 with my mom. And so I'd be in school drawing Snoopy. And then all the kids would want a Snoopy drawing, so I'd be constantly drawing Snoopy and giving it out to these kids.
Sorry, I hit something by accident. I don't usually do that. Because I was going to show this. Let's talk about your dad. When did when did it dawn on you that he was Micky Dolenz of the Monkees? Like, was there a moment for you?
I guess I remember being really little at the time, and my dad and Davy were doing something. They were performing together. It was after the actual Monkees, the actual show, because I was just born, I think, the same year that the show was off the air, but they were still, touring and doing all that kind of stuff. And I remember there was a mob of people, and they were racing. And I was with my dad, and they were racing towards him. And so all these people were all around. And then somebody just grabbed me and like pulled me out of this crowd. And then I knew then something was different, because none of my other friends, their parents were never like
attacked or run down.
Yeah. So I kind of went, something's different. And then it was also when my parents got a divorce, and he was just walking down the street with him, or people would stop him. I was probably maybe about 9 or something at the time, or maybe like 8. And so we'd constantly be like, and then people would dote on me. Oh, this is your daughter, and can I take a picture? And I got sick of it after a while. And so I put him in a costume. Well, not a costume, but like a hat and glasses, and to try and hide him, because then and I didn't really know why, but I just, I just wanted to have, the time and with my dad without, people coming up, because it was so normal. It was so normal. And then eventually nobody recognized him and came up anymore. So I told him to take the glasses and hat off, because it was just too weird.
That is so funny.
It's really weird now. Nobody's coming up to us.
Well, it's so interesting, because, your dad he's going to be 80 next March and looks exactly the same. And you do too. Like, you just have these, faces. You haven't changed your look, really. Like, you look like you did, when you were both younger. You just have that.
But I wish.
How is he? Almost going to turn 80. You told me backstage he's still playing.
Yeah, no, he's still performing. I just talked to him actually right before this show. He's he's still performing, still a rock star. You know, he keeps going. I think it keeps him young. You know, and
I
he loves being on stage. He's
I
being
bet it does.
yeah,
I mean, they were very popular.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
all of them. I mean, I remember it too. I mean, I have these, memories of that time because I'm 58, so I remember. Tell us about competing on Junior Star Search. What do you remember about the competition?
Um, I remember. Well, I remember being very nervous. But as soon as I started, and most people will tell you this if they do live theater or anything, you get very nervous right before you go on. And then when you go on, it's like just all goes away. So I remember that feeling. I was like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm not going to be able to do it. And then all of a sudden action. And then I'm like, oh, okay. And then you just do it. It was just very, it was very exciting. It was my first real professional thing that I did, I think. Yeah. And it helped get my SAG card. So that was the main, trying to
Is
get
that where you first met Tony Danza?
yes. Yes, that was the first time. And then, which was really odd because when I did She's Out of Control, I just thought it was so bizarre that it was with Tony Danza. So we really kind of like had a little bonding moment there. Because I'm like, do you even remember me? Because it was probably just this little like thing that he did. And then I won the junior that you were on. It was really fun.
What one of the fans was asking, what was it like working with him on both?
Oh, he was so great. He was like a dad on set. He was, I mean, I remember one time it was after I did the prom scene, and we were at, I think, the Roosevelt in Hollywood, and he stopped. I was wrapped, and he stopped production when he saw me like walking out of the building. He's like, not production, but rehearsal, and he's like, whoa, who's walking Amy to her car? Hold on. So very protective. And he taught me how to tap dance in the makeup trailer. That was fun.
Oh, that sounds like
He's
Tony.
big into tap dancing. Yeah.
Yeah. I got to work with him in the 90s on Angels in the Outfield. And I was a big fan of Who's the Boss. And he was a sweetheart. He was a great
such a nice guy.
Really nice. Yeah. My dad had become sick at the time, and I randomly bumped into him a year later, and he asked about my dad.
See, that's
Yeah.
he was just so wonderful to work with. I bumped into him too after that a couple times, and he was just, he's always very, very happy, very friendly, just a great guy.
And did you say you were shooting at the Roosevelt Hotel?
Yeah, I think it was the Roosevelt. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And I'm blanking. There was just a series that shot at the Roosevelt. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm happy it's still there because people like to knock things down.
That's true.
It's a very old hotel.
That is a historic hotel.
Yeah.
Historic. One of your first roles was Linda on Growing Pains. Do you remember?
Oh, yes. I couldn't remember her name, actually.
Well, if IMDb is right, it's
exactly.
Linda. I have to later. You never know.
Oh, yeah. That's too funny. Yeah, that was so much fun too, because that was my first, definitely my first sitcom that I did. And I remember just I had to flip Kirk Cameron over my shoulder, and we must have done it like so many times. I mean, just and then I'd have to come in out of this closet and then flip him. And then I remember the day we were actually shooting it, the closet door got stuck. So I missed my cue, and I'm banging on it going, I can't get out. So that was what I remember about that one. It's like, oh my God. Okay, retake.
I mean, I loved Growing Pains. That was one of mine.
Yeah.
That was a fun show back then.
Alan Thicke, right? Alan Thicke.
Yeah, Joanna Kearns, Alan Thicke.
Joanna Kearns, yeah. And Alan Thicke was so sweet because to the first shot, I have to go by his office window. And the first time we were actually shooting, I was so nervous, and he was like talking to me out through the window, going, "It's okay, take a deep breath, you know, you're gonna do great." So he was very sweet like that. He was my little stability.
Now, were you going, like to do that by yourself? Did your family take, because I know you left school, right? To
Yeah.
pursue?
Yeah. Well, I got General Hospital, and then I left school when I was 18. I was put back a grade because I went to Acapulco. I lived in Mexico for a while, so they put me back a grade.
Gotcha.
So I decided just to, just concentrate on acting, and that's when I got General Hospital. That's when I actually left.
Was that a good experience, Acapulco?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I loved Mexico. It's just amazing, an amazing country, an amazing time. It was, when Acapulco wasn't so built up like it is now.
Hmm.
Um,
Not so touristy, probably,
Not
right?
so touristy. I mean, a little touristy, but not like, yeah, not as
Not like
not
today.
hotel. You could see the ocean like from the road, not a hotel, and then the ocean. So
What
that
do
was
you
nice.
remember of
Honeymoon there.
1987 getting Can't Buy Me Love?
Yeah, that was met a lot of great friends on there, and that was my first time because I just turned 18 that I could go on set and like be by myself and no chaperone or anything. So it was exciting in so many different ways.
And you
Because
celebrated your birthday on set, I think.
yeah, yeah, yes, I did. Yep, yep. I was 18, celebrating my birthday, and I met this a girl, Darcy DeMoss, through my. We both had the same manager, so she took me out with some of the cast and crew and stuff, and had my 18th birthday, which I didn't really know anybody, so that was so sweet of her to do that because it was like, oh, it's my 18th birthday.
And you're with strangers, yeah.
Strangers, but everybody was so sweet and great, and so it was really fun. It was fun.
Could you have imagined, the love that people have for that film?
Oh yeah, no, and the acting was so great. Amanda, and she was fabulous, and I can't believe she's gone. But and the whole, I mean, it really was like a family. It really was. Everybody just got
Such a
along so well.
fun, such a
Yeah.
fun film. My God,
Oh
I remember loving that so much.
yeah.
It was the perfect film for that period of time.
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
And
Mhm.
it was that same year that you got General Hospital. Do you remember your
I didn't
audition
even
or
know it was the same year.
I think so, yeah. I
Really?
think if what I read was, yeah, I think
Exactly.
it was the same year.
Well, it probably was. Yeah, it probably was.
What do you remember about your audition or screen test?
For General Hospital, it was long. I went back, I can't even remember how many times. It was like 8 times or something. So I kept dweedling, dweedling, and
Wow.
dweedling away. No, it was a long process. They really take it very seriously. Marvin Page was the casting.
Oh, I don't know that name. Yeah, that
Yeah, Marvin Page. And I just remember his office was just full of scripts everywhere. I mean, it was like a hoarder kind of thing.
No,
Just
he had to read them all.
exactly.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm like, whoa. I didn't even read all of them when I was actually on it. I would just kind of sift through my, get my storyline. Okay, that's my storyline. Got it.
Did you have to screen test with anybody, do you recall?
No, not for General Hospital. I think I remember getting it, and he's like, "Okay, I was one of the last people there, or something like two down to 2 of us." And then he just told me I got the part. Go to wardrobe. I think so. It was like really weird. I'm like, "Oh, okay."
He's like, you're working today.
Yeah,
That's how,
exactly.
yeah, a
Thank
lot of
God I
times
didn't,
it is.
but
It moves that
it moved
fast.
very fast. It was a very slow audition process, and then all of a sudden it was like, "Okay, bum, done."
You were shot out of a cannon.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay.
That is wild. Were you excited about getting the part? Do you
Oh yeah.
remember?
No, I was very excited. And I wasn't a soap fan. I never really watched soaps that much. But I did watch when I was younger. General Hospital was the only one that my friend Michelle and I watched. So I remember being really little. And that was when Luke and Laura were on. So, and that was like a huge deal. So that's why we watched.
It was a huge deal back then.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. All about Luke and Laura.
It absolutely was. Was there somebody who helped you, 18, never done a soap before? Was there someone who sort of took you under their wing when you got there to?
Yeah, I think Jackie Zimmerman.
Zeman?
Zeman, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, she helped me out a lot because most of my scenes were with her. So she was very, very sweet and really took me under her wing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be really helpful to somebody who hasn't done daytime because it's daunting.
It moves very fast. I remember just trying to, after each set, moving along, and when you're done with one set, then all the cameras just like rush through, to the other set. You're basically doing like Frogger. You're kind of like trying to avoid the cameras and jumping over cables, and it's a little bit of a I remember that very well. And it taught me so much about finding my light, memorizing my lines, finding the camera, things like that. So it was, it taught me a lot in general about just being an actress in film and television.
Yeah. I mean, if you really can survive daytime, you could do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it is. I mean, it's not for everybody. Not everybody can do it.
No. It's very fast paced. It's basically a show a day, like an hour show a day.
It was then. Today, it is a lot more than a show a day. Sadly.
Really?
Yeah. For money purposes, to say, they're sometimes doing multiple. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. If you thought the pace was fast.
Oh, I couldn't imagine getting any faster.
No, I believe me, it really is. It really is. Anything else you remember about Jackie? I got to interview her before she passed away, and she's also from New Jersey, so we bonded. But she was really such a sweet, sweet woman.
Yes. Oh, she was such a sweetheart. I just absolutely adored her. Yeah, she was really my go-to. A lot, and she would just give me a lot of advice, and she was just a beautiful, beautiful woman. I introduced her to
Glenn
Gordon.
Didn't realize that.
Yeah. I remember doing a People magazine, and they're sitting on the couch, and it was a section on like who introduced who, I think, or something, and I was like, I had my little bow and arrow and behind the couch.
Oh my God, that's so funny. What was his name?
Spoke up, huh?
What was his name?
Glenn Gordon.
Glenn Gordon.
Yeah.
And she has. I don't know if both of her kids are from Glenn.
I think they are.
Yeah, I know. Lacey's last name is Gordon. I can't think if the other daughter's name is Gordon as well. I might. So forgive me if I'm mistaken there. But I just loved spending the time that I had with her. And I do think so many young people learned so much from her, because she just, I think, treated everybody with kindness and respect. And when you're young,
really did, everybody on the set and everybody around was.
And was he a family friend?
Yeah.
I love that. Such a small.
He actually, a long time before that, he dated my mom for a little while.
Oh, wow.
And he was our neighbor. That's how we met him. And this was this was a long time before that, but yeah, he was our neighbor.
That's small world, but
exactly. And he became, because we moved and and everything, and he was still a friend of the family's for years after that. Yeah.
Well, what do you remember about Melissa? What kind of trouble did Melissa get into on General Hospital?
Oh goodness. Well, it's the soap. So
Quite
drug
a bit.
addict, a hooker, ran away. Actually, and then became a candy striper. So everybody ends up in actual general
Yeah,
hospital.
yeah.
And she got her act together and became a nurse. No, I think I was only a candy striper. I never became a nurse, a proper nurse.
Did you have? Is there a favorite sort of story that you had there?
Um, God, let me think. Not really. I remember meeting the Jersey Devils on one show, and that was the hockey team. That was kind of fun.
I don't think
Yeah,
they
that was
still exist, but I remember the Jersey Devils.
yeah, the Jersey Devil, which was Jersey. So,
Yeah, right. Yeah, but I don't
and
think
I
they
got
still
to
exist.
meet them. That was kind of fun. Yeah, working with them. I think it was like two that came on the show, injured, of course.
Oh, and ended up in the hospital.
Yeah, exactly, and ended up in the hospital.
Well, I told you backstage, I watched an interview you did with your dad on AMLA around the General Hospital time, and he was so proud of you. He was beaming about how good of an actress you were.
Yeah, I do. I remember. I don't know if that was the Pacific one. I remember. Maybe it was, but I do remember before. I think it was probably that one because I hadn't done a lot of interviews, especially big, interviews like that. And I was so nervous backstage. I'm like, Dad, you do all the talking. I don't want to talk. You do all the talking. Okay, you do all the talking. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to, okay, you do all the talking. And then I get out there and I'm like, yeah, and I wouldn't shut up. And he's like sitting there going, okay.
That is so funny. Did Sam Behrens play your dad too on General Hospital?
No, I didn't have a dad. He was in the brownstone because he lived with
Bobby.
yeah, Bobby. And so I lived with it, but my mom was actually in a wheelchair, and I had a little brother called Skeeter. And I don't know the background where my dad was, but I do
Gotcha.
remember because Martha was my mom. Yeah, she was a great actress. She was really fun to work with, and such a sweetheart. And she was really a paraplegic. She really was in a wheelchair.
Oh, wow. So they used
Yeah,
somebody.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
great. I
yeah.
mean,
Very, very special woman. Yeah.
oh, I love that. It's really, you know, daytime really can educate
Yeah.
when they do it
Really.
right. There's so much,
Mhm. Mhm.
so
They
much
could
that
have
they.
very easily brought in an actor that, but no, it was she was an actor, and she still is an actress.
She
You know.
still is.
I think so. I think
Oh,
so. I
wow.
haven't kept in touch with her that much, but I saw her in other things.
Wow,
Mm,
that's incredible. I think you
mhm.
got She's Out of Control while you were on General Hospital. Is that?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and I was lucky to do it. I
Do
was
you think?
lucky that they got me out of the contract for that period of time.
Oh, that's awesome. They let you out. Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that was a big role.
Yeah, yeah, that was so much fun. That was great. It's just fun building that arc of being kind of like mousy, coming to age. It's a coming of age, movie. So it was really fun building that arc. Being just
Was that filmed in LA?
yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, yeah.
What was it like, for Can't Buy Me Love and that, seeing yourself on the big screen?
It's kind of surreal, and I hate watching myself. A lot of actors do. They hate watching themselves. So it is a bit, a little not say daunting, but you start just judging every little thing. I think maybe that's it. It just I am yeah, I just do not like watching myself at all. But it's also very exciting. Especially when you see the posters. I remember having a huge billboard on Sunset and my mom sitting there in her car taking pictures. It's just so cute.
And you're like this.
I'm like, oh my God. She's like, oh my God, you're so huge.
But that's a big deal.
Yeah. 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 No, it
That
was. Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
big deal.
And the red carpet and the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very, it's very cool.
your name above the lights.
Yes, exactly. Name and lights.
Is there somebody along the way, like a mentor, who helped you throughout that young period, in Hollywood? I mean, maybe your dad and your mom, but
I would say definitely my mom and dad. Yeah. Yeah.
do you
And
remember?
especially dad, because I would, he went through it. So I would talk to him a lot about, and I remember one thing that when we have pictures taken together, or even if I'm by myself, he'd say, okay, then you pick, like, you go to the right, to the center, and to the left. And then it's like, okay, dad. So he'd be like, okay, right, we're starting on the right. I'm like, okay. And you go like that. And you go like that. So little things like that.
But how would you know that? You
I
wouldn't.
know, exactly. Because if you don't, then you're all like, kind of, because they yell, they're kind of like, oh, over here, over here, over here. And then you're like,
I've
what?
worked many carpets. They are
Yes,
yelling
I
your
bet you know
name.
that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they are yelling your name. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
You have to follow, yeah. I love
Have
that.
to have
But
some kind of routine, because, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. What do you remember once She's Out of Control came out? Was there anything that stands out, like, of, being out and people recognizing you?
Not one particular moment. Not really. I think, uh, mostly in restaurants, or I think I remember one time at the airport, and somebody recognized me, which was really, really, really fun. Yeah, I can't remember the first time I was really recognized, though, for that.
Which is interesting, thinking about it, because, you wanted your dad to cover up.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I wonder what it was like for you now getting that attention.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, again, it's so surreal. It's just. I mean, I definitely wasn't. It wasn't anything like my dad went through,
Yeah,
but
I mean, music people have it on a different level, I think,
yeah,
than most.
exactly. Um, but it's kind of fun too, because you just get to meet new people. Because I
Mhm.
was very open to it. I was never, I didn't kind of go, okay, thank you, and da da da. I chat a little and sign an autograph or take a picture, and so it's nice. You get to just meet new people, and I'm a people person anyway, so
Do people recognize you today?
not so much. No, no, very rarely. Sometimes.
Interesting, because you really do look very, with the same features as your younger self. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I could see people coming up to you and being like, "I know you."
well,
Like,
that does happen sometimes. Yeah,
yeah,
that.
like,
Don't I know you from somewhere? You look very familiar. Yeah, and then I realize that they probably, so that
yeah, I
does
mean, it
happen.
could be any of them for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
Tell us about the spinoff of Ferris Bueller's, which such a great idea. It's shocking that it didn't, you know.
yeah, one season.
Ooh,
Yeah.
my phone
Yes.
is ringing. Sorry, I didn't turn mine off, but I don't even know where it is. There, it's a scam, of course.
You definitely like me. I do that all the time. I'm like, where is it?
And
Where is
where is it? I didn't know, but it pops up on my phone, and of course, it's nobody for me. It's spam,
it?
which we get
All
24
the time. What is
all
the
the
spam thing?
time,
Oh my goodness.
all the time.
Every day.
Um, what do you remember about the experience? Jennifer Aniston, Charlie Schlatter.
Yeah. Oh, it was so much fun. I wish it went on longer.
I mean, that movie was,
One of my favorites.
me
Love
too.
that movie. Absolutely loved it. Oh,
And
watched.
such a brilliant idea to make it into a
Yeah, yeah,
series.
yeah. I don't know. It should have. Yeah. I just thought it was a great idea too, and such a fun character. I love playing the girlfriend and having that little conflict with Jennifer Aniston.
Did you know any of them before doing that series?
No, no, just met them. Yeah, yeah. I remember doing this one shot. I still have the Polaroid, actually. I had to wear a Jennifer Aniston mask. So they made a mask, and I wore the mask. And so I have this Polaroid I guess wardrobe must have taken. And so it's her and then me in the mask. And I think it must have been like a nightmare scenario or something. And then I pull off the mask and scare Ferris Bueller somehow. I can't remember that actual episode, but I think it was that. Yeah, it was funny though.
That's wild. What was your last acting gig?
Wow. Oh, it's such a long time ago. I think I did actually my first commercial in the Bahamas for Visa. It was a Visa commercial. And I'd never done a commercial before, but it was
And not a bad place to do it.
Like,
I mean, sign me up tomorrow.
yeah, right, I can do that.
Was it a conscious choice to stop acting?
Once I started, I went to an art school called Emily Carr here in Vancouver. And once I started school, I really started focusing on just changing careers and just doing something different. I was just not feeling as passionate about acting as I did in the beginning. So, and I started feeling passionate about something else. And I figured, life's too short. I may as well do my first passion. I did my second one. And,
I know, which is really interesting to go back to something from childhood that you really were passionate about. I love that.
Exactly.
What did you study at that art school?
Illustration. I got my certificate for illustration. Yeah. So it was about 4 years off and on. I went to school there and just learned so much, and it was a lot of mixed media too. So I did go into painting and inking and other mediums as well, which was a lot of fun. I'm mostly watercolor and pen and ink though.
And what is it that you love about art?
About art,
or illustrating,
just expressing yourself. It's like acting in a way. You're expressing yourself in just a different way. And
with your hand.
Yeah, your hands and your imagination and your own imagination, because everything is just you. I think that's why I liked it as well. It's just, I love the fact that you're a team when you're, performing or actor. You have the writer, you have the director, everybody kind of comes together. The set designers, the makeup artists, everybody comes together. But for me right now, I get to just do exactly what I want to do. I'm kind of my own boss, which is nice. I don't have to go there.
Can't beat that.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun.
Do you sell your work?
I'm starting to. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, the website, everybody can check it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should. Absolutely. You also wrote a children's book, right?
Yeah. Harold and Agatha and the Mysterious Jewel. Yeah. And it was based on a story my dad would tell me when I go visit him in England.
Really?
So, yeah. He'd start the story when I'd land in England. He'd start a new Harold and Agatha story. And then by the time he took me back to the airport, he'd end it. So it was all off the top of his head. He would just make it up as he went along. So it's really from what I remember. So it's a little bit of, his story and mixed in with, what I don't remember, just filling it in kind of thing. But the basic story was his story that he would tell me as a little girl.
Did it come from somewhere? Like, did somebody...
My dad's head, pretty much. He just make it up. I have no idea why he picked Harold and Agatha and, or the names, or they were sister and brother, or, oh yeah, he'd make all these stories up. It's not the only one he told me. He told me like, I think 4 different ones. Yeah.
Was it easy to write for you?
Yeah, it was, because I already kind of had a beginning, middle, and an end, because I already, I just had to fill in a lot. Because of course nothing was ever written down. It was, just out there. So it wasn't that hard, but it also wasn't that easy, because it is very time consuming and a lot of rewrites.
Would you want to write another type of book?
Yeah, I just do picture books. I'm working on a couple picture books now. One with my dad.
Oh, that's great.
So that's fun. That's a lot of fun.
Oh my God. What did he think of this book that you did? The Harold book.
Oh my, I know he was very happy with that one. He was just so touched too, because he knew it was his story that he told me, so that was really cool. I remember giving it to him for the first time and he was like, "Oh my God, it's a book."
That has to be that has to be really special. I mean, that's
it was. It was.
And the fact that he's still alive and that you could really give that to him. I mean, what a gift. What a beautiful gift. Did you yourself enjoy going to see him in England?
I loved it. I loved it. Bit of a culture shock when I was living in Mexico, because I would be so warm in Mexico and then I'd have to be in
cold
England.
And rainy in London.
Cold and rainy, so a little bit, that was funny.
Was it London that he lived?
London, started in London, then Nottingham. I think it was maybe a couple years after he moved to London. So basically Nottingham and London in between. I
love that place. Love it.
Oh, it's so beautiful. So historical. Just the buildings alone are just amazing.
Totally agree. You met your husband in acting class.
Yeah.
Does he still act?
Oh, yeah. Jerry Trimble. Yep. He's still acting, going strong.
And Vancouver's the place to be.
Yeah, it's they call it Hollywood North, and of course we're citizens now in Canada. We have our passports and everything, so we can work.
Lucky people. Lucky people.
Yeah, exactly.
Lucky people. I have started the process to get Portuguese citizenship.
Oh, Portuguese, beautiful.
On my mother's side, has Portuguese blood, and
yep.
they allow Sephardic Jews to get citizenship for some reason.
Oh, how amazing!
Yeah,
that would be incredible.
I only went there for the first time a year ago, right about now.
And you really loved it?
I did very much. Sadly, I can't get Dutch citizenship because she wasn't still a Dutch citizen when I was born. She had become an American.
Oh,
because I would love that. I would have loved.
Yeah, I hear. I've never been there, but I hear it's absolutely.
Yeah, you would love Holland. Holland's beautiful. Amsterdam's great.
Yeah.
Do you guys travel a lot?
Yeah. Not as much as we should, or I'm gonna start traveling a little bit more. I've always wanted to see the Northern Lights, and I'm thinking when that comes up again, I might try to do that. Since we're so close, we could just stay in Canada and go up north and see them. So that's kind of on my bucket list. And also just just to go back to Europe. I haven't been to England for such a long time, and I really miss it. And also Mexico. I'd love to go back to Mexico and visit. We've been to Acapulco, so maybe somewhere different. Thinking.
How long did you live in Acapulco?
A couple years between Acapulco and Mexico City.
Oh, that's great. That is great. I forgot to mention, you also have, which I love, coloring pages up that you created.
Oh, yeah. I just do that for fun because I think people, love coloring pages. I started just doing it for kids, but I might move into, doing more, intricate ones. I don't know, but they're mostly for kids, just to,
I don't recall when. It might have been during the pandemic that I started hearing stories about how coloring for adults has become so therapeutic.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I started doing it during the pandemic with my my niece. No, not my niece. My nephews. She wasn't born yet, but and so I would just send them coloring pages to do just to keep them kind of busy.
Preoccupied during that.
Yeah, something. I mean, the poor things. That must have been so hard for little kids because
Totally. But yeah, I loved seeing that on the page because so many people are coloring again,
Well, there's more to come.
Yeah, well, that's great. Talk about some of the horror films you did. Were those fun?
Oh, so much fun. I got to be possessed and, I screamed a lot, got to be chased down by Pumpkinhead. And
Were you a fan yourself of horror as a kid?
I was. That's how I kind of got into it. I always, I always loved horror. The first horror movie I remember seeing was with my dad, and it was Dracula, the first one, the black and white.
Oh, wow.
So the really old one. And this is kind of funny. I remember seeing it with my dad, and after that, I always had to have long hair. And this is going into being a teenager. Because I had to cover my hair. I cover my neck with my hair before
Because
I went
you were scared?
because I thought, Dracula wouldn't bother moving my hair like my neck, or I would wake up when he'd move my hair. So that was my protection. My hair was my protection, so I wouldn't get bit in the neck. And I did that. It was like a phobia for me, and well into my teens, probably early 20s. It was just something I had to have my hair on my neck when I slept. It was weird. It was so weird.
Wow.
So thanks, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. Dad scarred you for life. Do you have a favorite horror franchise or horror film?
I have to say, yeah, my favorite is sci-fi horror, and that would be Alien. Love it. Oh my God, that was amazing. That was so cool. That's definitely my favorite. And because I love sci-fi too. Yeah, I was watching, Star Trek with my dad when I was like 4. That was my first show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Did you go and watch some of your dad's work?
Oh, yeah. Well, the Monkees, definitely. I saw, I watched the Monkees a lot back in the day.
What do you remember about, registering that that's your dad as you're watching?
Well, I see a lot of, of course, back then, a lot of people didn't get to see their parents, in full color, like that, like moving around, and it was just like just little snapshots, black and whites, whatever. So that was really fun for me. And when I was in my 20s, when I was his age, watching him, that was really, very interesting. I think that was more interesting than when I was younger, because then it's my dad my age.
Oh,
so that was kind of, that was very surreal. Yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
I love that. Is the Monkees on somewhere now? Do you know?
I think it is. I think it's on somewhere. I think, was it Nickelodeon, or I know
I have
it's.
to look. I have not seen that in decades. I'm sure it's on YouTube. I'm sure people have.
Oh yeah, they're all over YouTube. Yeah,
people have put some of that, but I have not seen that in decades. One of the fans said, "I saw your dad on an episode of My Three Sons."
Oh my God, really? I didn't even know that. He was on My Three Sons?
Yes, as in a non-musical role.
Because I did see him briefly on Emergency, was it called, or something?
Oh yeah, Emergency with Randy Mantooth, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Emergency that he was on, where he played like a thug. Which was like so not my dad. I just thought that was really fun, like a biker or something. I don't know. It was really funny, and he was so young. And then of course he did a show called, when he was about 10, a Circus Boy, way back in the day.
Oh, I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, it was he was like 10 years old, yeah, and blonde.
Wow, did he start that young?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, so you were destined.
I know.
it was in the blood.
Stars, yeah.
Yeah. Your siblings didn't follow?
No, my sister Georgia. She was in the Groundlings for a while, and she's still doing a lot of voiceover work, and so she's still into it. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Definitely. My youngest sister, my other 2 middle sisters, they're not into it at all. Nothing.
No arts for them.
No.
Do you think you'd ever go back to acting?
As of now, probably not. I mean, if somebody asked me if I had a friend, and I don't think I'd ever start actually pursuing it again. No.
Do you help your husband on his, preparation for?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Well, because you don't
there's a lot of brick and mortar for casting right now. It's all being taped. So that's my job.
So that's got to be fun.
The taper. So, and then I tape. So I read and I put them on film.
I love that.
Put them on
Yeah, isn't that crazy to think you used to go into the brick and mortar? Like you said, you went into General Hospital's casting office.
Yeah.
I feel bad for, young actors who don't get to experience that connection.
Yeah, they're never probably going to really get to experience that. Yeah, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing in a way. Because I think, once you go, then you're on. When you're doing it at home, you can do it as many times as you want. So
you're also not intimidated by all the other people in the room. You're doing it at home. You're not intimidated by the 40 girls who look like you in the room or the 40 boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so there probably are benefits to that.
But then you get no feedback either, because sometimes you're actually the casting person or the director, if the director's in the room or somebody else in the room, you can get a little feedback. Do you have any questions about the character? You can't do that now.
And they might ask you to do it a different way.
Yeah. You can, but you don't know how to do it a different way if they're not going to be there telling you. So it is very different. I've never done it. So it was before. That was way
before you. Now you're your own boss, so it doesn't matter.
Do it any way I want.
Absolutely. So will you celebrate Thanksgiving in Vancouver next week?
No, we celebrate here the beginning of October before Halloween, which is very weird for me because I love Halloween, and I love Thanksgiving is great, but it's just I was raised by my dad's side a lot with Thanksgiving, but of course my mother was British, so on my mom's side it didn't really exist. So
they don't celebrate.
No, they do not. So
I forget what's the Sunday meal that everybody has over in England. I forget what it's called, like ham and something, or I could be wrong. I don't know. There's like a traditional British meal.
Well, that's probably more here than the States. Yeah. So So they do have Thanksgiving here, but it's more based on the changing of the seasons, the harvest. All that, not the pilgrims.
So stuff. Next week is nothing then over there?
Nope, nothing.
Regular day. Well, I was going to say have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for doing this. Such a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, so nice meeting you too. Thank you for having me, Alan. That was so much fun.
Me too. I had a blast. Have a great weekend. It's Friday, right? Friday afternoon.
Yep. Friday. You have a wonderful weekend too.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everybody. Thanks. A very big thank you to Ami Dolenz for spending this hour with us. To check out Ami's art, go to amidolenzart.com. And as Thanksgiving approaches, I just wanted to give a heartfelt thank you to everyone in the Locher Room community. I appreciate every hour you tune in, every comment you leave, and all of your support over these last 4.5 years. I wish each of you a very happy Thanksgiving. I'll see you the first week in December. I am taking off tomorrow on vacation. So enjoy your holiday. If you haven't yet subscribed to the Locher Room, you can do so down below. Turn on the notifications for reminders of all upcoming shows. And remember, if you'd like to stream audio versions, just search the Locher Room on your favorite podcast app. Have a safe and wonderful Thanksgiving, everybody. I will see you the first week in December.